So, if you've been trying to manifest things into your life using the law of attraction and you find out that it's like not really working the way that you want it to work, it's probably because you're missing something that I was missing for a long time. And I ran an experiment that's a little bit related. Picture it like a cousin to the law of attraction. And a lot of the things that the law of attraction was supposed to do started to actually happen. But it wasn't until I learned one step beyond what that was and did a little experiment to figure out how I could actually have these things show up in my life. And I'll walk you through that little experiment here. It's one that I still do, and it's one that you can do in 2, maybe 3 minutes a day that you'll find actually does move the needle a little bit. At least it has for me, which means it probably will for you too. I can't make any guarantees on that, but that's just my bet. And it has to do with another thing Neville Goddard talked about. And that's a little bit different than the law of attraction. I'll walk you through why I think the law of attraction is flawed, which why I think it didn't work for me, which is probably the same reason why it didn't work for you. You probably watched The Secret, you probably read that, and you thought, all right, this is the way it's going to be. But then you quickly realized doesn't really work that way. So I'll walk you through the experiment and my experience with that. And by the way, my name is Brent, and I'm the host of a podcast called Better Beliefs. It's a storytelling narrative show that is based on the premise that the most dangerous thing is a made-up mind. We talk about the metaphysical, we talk about the human condition, we get into spirituality. If you want to check out an episode, I'll drop a link in the pop-out banner and you can check that out. But if you want to get on this manifestation thing, the first thing that I realized was that the law of attraction was fundamentally flawed. And it's fundamentally flawed because it contradicts what it says you're supposed to do, right? You have to operate from a place of scarcity and lack simply by using the law of attraction. Because the whole premise is that you attract things to you. You like pull something from some other place in the universe, whether that's across the room, across the country, around the world, and that thing comes to you. But that operates saying you don't have it yet. And so that never really landed for me that it needed to have like this feeling like, oh, I've already got this thing, but I have to attract it at the same time. You have to admit that you don't have it in order to even think about the law of attraction, because we don't have to attract things that are already in our lives. And that never really made sense to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why it never really worked when I tried it. And if you're trying it and it's not working, that may be it for you too, because if you have to operate from lack to try to get to this feeling of abundance, which is what the law of attraction is trying to get us to, then it's fundamentally opposing directions, which I never really realized until I realized it. And then I realized it and I'm like, oh, now I understand why this doesn't work. So all I did was I swapped the law of attraction for this other thing that Neville Goddard talked about, which is the law of assumption. And there's a big difference in that one little word, right? The law of either attraction or assumption. So that's the change. In the law of assumption, it is making the assumption that all the things that you want in your life, whatever it is that you want, it could be a physical thing, it could be a feeling, like whatever it is, you have to feel like you already have it. You're assuming the role of somebody that already has it. That's the difference between like wanting something and having the feeling of something. So when I was stuck in that loop of the law of attraction, of it like never working, I felt like the problem is that I just wasn't attracting hard enough. Like I needed to spend more time trying to really attract and really think about these things that I didn't have that I wanted, and then they would come into my life. It was all about effort. And I think that's the key distinction that I observe between the law of attraction and the law of assumption. The law of assumption doesn't require nearly the effort or the perceived effort that the law of attraction does, because there isn't really anything to do when you already have something because you already have it. If you're trying to manifest a Lamborghini, you don't have to try to attract a Lamborghini. You just go sit in the Lamborghini, push the start button, and then you drive away. That's the difference between those two. There isn't any effort involved in the law of assumption, which the hard part with that is that it just requires trust of the universe, which is like one of the hardest things for me to ever have gotten to. And by no means am I like perfect at that, but trusting that the universe is going to deliver and that I don't have to provide all of this effort is one of the weirdest paradoxes of my life because I always felt like the more effort I put into something, the more I get out of it. But what I've experienced more since I've started this experiment is that the less I do and the more I feel and the more I assume, the more stuff shows up. And again, like I'm not the expert at this. I just wanted to explore it and do some experiments that felt like approachable. And we are getting to that, but I need to walk through a couple other things first to help you understand the experiment. So the next thing, we changed one little word, right? Law of attraction to law of assumption, but there's another way that I started talking that made things change a little bit. And this is even a smaller word distinction. I went from I want, fill in the blank, like whatever it is that I want to have in my life, to I am, right? So that's a future state is I want. It's also from lack, saying I don't have, but I want. And I am is different, right? I want to be fit is different than I am fit, right? One is stating a fact and the other is stating a wish. And this kind of moves from like, I want to have peace in my life to my life is peaceful, right? I didn't put the I am in there, but it's the same sentiment. It's talking about things that are happening in the present. Assumption means that it's like already done. It doesn't mean that you have to go do anything. And so when you're talking, and like I found that the more I pay attention to the language I use with things, the it has some crazy effect. And you wouldn't think that your own words do, but I don't know how often you think about the words that you use or like the intentionality of the way you talk about this stuff. But if you change that from this state of lack and I want to this I am, then you'll find that that distinction of words, right? There's something with the vibration that comes through your like eardrums when you're speaking that really has a way of having these things like really be in your life. And so that is like a really, really important distinction. Then before we get into the experiment, the last thing I want to share with you is kind of like this self check to see if you actually believe it, right? Remember where I was the law of attraction felt like I needed to put all this effort out there. Like I needed to do more attracting. I needed to think harder. I needed to meditate more. Like whatever it is, I felt like I needed to do more to attract. Like that's kind of evidence that I thought it was all bullshit and I didn't believe it. The law of assumption, though, to check yourself to see if you're actually like in the belief that you do it, is you stop checking to see your progress, to see if the thing is actually showing up. Now, sometimes I suck at this. Like, I'm sure once I post this video, I'm probably going to check a couple times to see like how many people watched it, how many people liked it, or if anybody shared it, right? But that's not the way to do it. That's the bad way to do it. The way to do it, where you just assume that you have the thing, is probably better explained in the story of how I met my wife. And I was in my mid 20s and I was out like looking, like I felt like I was ready to get married. And so I would go out, like I was ready to find the one. I don't know if I was ready to get married yet, but I would go out and I would look for her. Right? I would look all over the place. We'd go out to bars, we'd go out to clubs, we'd go out to restaurants, we'd go do like adult intramural sports, like every place that I could. I was looking for her. But the night I stopped looking was a massive 10,000 person Halloween party. And I just went to have fun with my friends and get drunk. And what do you know? That's the night that I met my wife. Because I was operating from a place of not having to look. It was, I am complete and I am whole. And like, all the woo-woo stuff that you're supposed to do. I just let my guard down in not thinking I needed to go do anything about it. I stopped checking. And what do you know? I met her there at this 10,000 person Halloween party. And it turns out that, she's classy. And we've been married for almost 20 years. But that's the difference between the law of attraction and the law of assumption and checking yourself. You don't keep seeing your progress. If you're trying to manifest some amount of money, like you wouldn't keep checking your bank account. You would just be assuming that like this is showing up, which does require patience, but it also requires trust, like I talked about earlier, which might be the toughest thing of this whole process. Trusting that the universe is actually going to deliver what you're bringing into your life. That's the hardest thing. And that's, I think, the core difference between attraction and assumption. And Neville Goddard talked about that. He talked about feeling like the thing was already done. And that's really what it is. So let's talk about the experiment that does help you feel like it's already done. And this is the one you can do in 2, maybe 3 minutes a day. And you'll always have time for it because it's right before bed. And this is the thing that I've been experimenting with, that I've started to see some actions with, right? So you just, right before you go to bed, you close your eyes like you would when you're going to bed and replay a movie like you're in the movie, not watching the movie, of whatever it is you're trying to bring into your life. The example that I've got right now is that there is this house in Sedona that my wife and I just love, and we would love to own it and love to live there and, all that. And so I envision myself in this master bedroom, and the family room of this house, like would get up from the couch and after family time and walk to bed. And I'm like watching that happen in this house that I want, because I looked at the pictures of it online. And then I've envisioned myself sitting down, laying down, and going to sleep in that house. That's it. And then I just go to sleep. That's an example of the experiment. So whatever it is you want, like if you want a car or you want a relationship or whatever, think about in as much vivid detail as you can, create that and just experience that for 2 to 3 minutes, however long that vision takes you. It could be 30 seconds, doesn't really matter. Do that and then just go to sleep, assuming that the whole thing is done, and then don't think about it again until the next night and just continue to have that. Now, you might hear that and go like, wait, why do I have to do it every single night? Isn't that trying too hard? Just consider, and this is what I found, is that when you have the thing, it becomes normal and ordinary, right? If you acquire stuff, like if you want a fancy car, trust me, once you get the fancy car, within 2 weeks, it's just going to be the way you get around, or maybe 2 months. Same thing happens with whatever it is you're trying to manifest. It is going to be normal and ordinary. And so, of course, you would experience it every single day. If you can do that, then it'll be interesting to see how this shifts from lack to abundance. And that's really the difference between the law of attraction and the law of assumption. So I hope that experiment works for you. I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to make another video on the update on that. Maybe I'll do that from the house in Sedona, which I think would be rad. Awesome. Thanks for watching this video. If you do want to catch an episode of the podcast, which is the main reason why I have this channel, then click the link in the pop-out banner or the description below, and you can get one of my favorite episodes right there. If you found this video helpful for you, share it with somebody that you think could also use this help. Maybe they've been struggling with the same thing that you've been struggling with. And of course, if you want more content like this and you want the podcast, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks a lot. See you on the next video.